here
Thank you.
outlines
The congregation.
what we're getting. What I guessed at.
What we guessed at, right?
But I guess that we would be getting from the state and federal grant, the NSIP money, which is strictly food money. And then our donation monies. So that page is, this is what I did the budget from.
Okay, and did she go through this budget committee also?
Yes.
And so are you aware of the shortage she's talking about? I guess I'm confused because if you say you're gonna be short all this money, were they informed and was the budget adjusted? Because,
Well, they informed me that I had cut my budget to meet the city contribution amount plus these grants. So I ended up, because of the salary thing. So I went through and I revised the budget. So that's what we got.
So we don't know what state and federal revenues are going to be. I mean, that's the problem. So the only thing we could do is estimate the city's contribution has ranged from 200 to 300,000 in the past. And so we just set a number of 310. 310. And we're just hoping and praying that your state revenues are up. So this is a very difficult budget.
This budget's always crazy because
Yeah.
I have to submit the proposal for the grant back in February or March, January, I think. Nowhere near the city budget hearing. So then I take that budget, I put it into, I take what I propose, put it into the budget, come to the budget hearings, and then they said, that's way too much, you don't have that amount of money. So you need to go back and adjust it. So then I came back and I adjusted it based on the state contribution amount. And when the state sends back their contract, the actual contract, it's not gonna get to me till June.
so then if she needs more money, she just has to
Yeah,
come
then
to
we'll
a
have to
budget
deal with it
adjustment.
then. Yeah, and this is a budget that is very frustrating.
Yeah.
I think the only thing we can do right now, she can talk about staff she has, the program she has, home meals, home delivery, and the senior center, just kind of talk about what that is. And then
So
when we get the actual allocations from the state, we'll have to come.
Okay,
So if you go to page 139, this is the congregate budget. For the congregate revenues from the state and the fed. First, I think I have 44,000 units, 45,000 units that I budgeted for. That's the number of visits per consumer. And, or not per consumer, but overall. So congregate, we're still feeding roughly 130, 250 people. We have about 45 of those are grab and go still. And we are required to supply grab and go for senior consumers who do not feel safe enough to come into the congregate setting or who refuse vaccines and cannot come to the congregate setting. We have about 35 to 45 of those people who still come in, pick up their lunch, go home. The rest of them are actually coming in and sitting down in the center. We are social distancing. So we get complaints that we only have 4 people at the table. That's why. Gone over this with seniors. They just. So our congregate budget is usually our most large budget. It's our largest budget in terms of funding it. However, if you go to page 141,
I think I had a couple of questions. I'm sorry, Kim, just thank you. This is 130 to 150 people per day. Is that daily or is that monthly? Daily.
that's the
Okay, thank you. Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday.
does this run now at 100%? Are you open
We
100%?
are open from 8:30 in the morning until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so it's fully open. We're not doing activities yet, but we will start adding them. Right now, we have billiards and leather crafting because we're able to manage the social distancing with it. We have not started before yet, because I don't know how to social distance 130 people in that building.
Because we're still, because of the seniors, is it state law still that we have to
Well, I was just gonna ask.
So,
that.
yes, because we're a state facility that provides services to older populations, masks are still required. Social distancing is still required, and everyone who comes in the door has to be vaccinated. So that is a state requirement.
But those are the state rules.
And how many, oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. I was just curious, you said you're asking for 11 positions and bumped up pay for 4 of those positions. How many
No,
positions?
I think, all of the part-time, so the cooks, the 2 cooks positions, the part-time cooks positions, the 2 bus drivers and the 1 part-time, so 7 of those positions all got bumped up to $12 an hour.
Okay.
Because of our new.
Because we're going to that.
Oh, right.
That's the proposal before you.
Right, we
That's
don't
not,
have to go to 12 until January. State
Correct.
law, but
We're gonna do
recommending we do it.
and the 11 positions are already funded, already in the budget, already existing.
Oh, okay. I was really confused.
Yeah, so we're not adding anything. I am currently advertising for 1 part-time cook, but that's the only position I've got.
So that's congregate.
So if you go to page 141, that's the HP. Now, the state pays more for home delivered meals. They pay less for congregate meals. We have had difficulty maintaining home delivered clients due to death, and then also because they get a home. We're not a Meals on Wheels program. We are a home delivered meals program, which is focused on providing meals for seniors who live alone, have no support at home, cannot drive or transport themselves, and have a health condition that limits their mobility. So we're very specific in terms of who we add to HP. You can't just say, I want home delivered meals because. So they have to have certain criteria. So because of the specificities of the criteria and the number of seniors who are really sick, we've lost quite a few of our HD meals. We're currently, I think, at 70, and we're supposed to be at 160. Wow. Now, if we were actually at full capacity of 160, then your meal costs go up and all the other stuff. So kind of a nice tightrope walk that we're trying to do. So, so our HD budget is smaller than the congregate budget, even though the state funding stream is more than what it is for congregate. Questions?
I guess
Okay.
sorry, I just have a question on your funding for the state. I wasn't aware, until this meeting really that's interesting that the state pays like half the funding, but you said you're not getting your art money next year, which makes sense. So is there how much are you getting through UP right now?
So if you look on the first page, I don't know what we're getting from them yet, so I use last year's amount. So we get for,
You're going back to.
congregate, I think we're getting
Page
Yeah, what
number are
page
you
are you
on?
going back?
137. Go back to the first
Yeah, I'm on the right page.
So for transportation, this is federal funding. For transportation, we're getting 39,750. For congregate federal, we're getting 90,924. And for, I'm sorry, I mixed that up. So the first one is HD, the second one is congregate, and then for transportation, we're getting 23,461 for transportation. And then the state budget, the state for all 3 areas is 17206.
And which one of those are you, Kim, you're not getting the art money? So which, you said for sure you're not getting the art money, which is how much?
We don't, so this year it was
We don't know that we're not getting that.
we don't know that we're not getting it, but it's not included in this budget.
Oh, that's what I thought you
When
said
when we get it,
earlier.
we'll bring it to council and ask.
If
them to
we
put it
get
in the
additional
budget.
funding, I will bring it to council and let you know where we're putting it.
Oh,
I
thank
suspect we'll
you.
get it.
Okay, because I thought,
I think
sorry,
so
at the beginning, I thought you said we're not getting the art money, that's, but.
Well, I don't know what we're getting.
Okay, we don't know what, okay.
Right now, the state is asking us to show them all of our cards and then they'll
They'll
let us
show us
know
their
what,
cards?
yeah, they got, and then in the end, hopefully get enough to cover our expenditures. So the past 2 years, we're hoping,
Their timing is not good for our budget.
no,
Okay,
I just wanted her to go
But they're
ahead.
good about providing at the end.
Right.
Yeah.
okay,
as
sorry,
long as
thank
we
you.
document it
Yeah.
through.
I just wanted more clarification on that, thank you.
Yeah, and then, so if you look at 140, 144, this is our transportation budget. This is the smallest budget, because our transportation, is very limited. We do not do medical, like, so the state calls it medical transport, but that's for people who are immobile and have to have like special equipment, and they have a caregiver that goes with them. We do regular medical appointments, like taking someone to the eye doctor, or taking someone for heart checkups, or blood pressure, or do a lot of dialysis patients. This has been very limited in the last 2 years just because of COVID, and we still have to practice social distancing in our transport. So, but it is coming back, like we're opening up, and we have probably about 15 people regularly who catch a bus Monday, Friday to come in and eat, and those numbers are full. So, and then we have a variety of people who call in. So our part-time driver is really our medical person, and he also picks up all the consumers and brings them to the center. And then they go shopping after. So every time you stop, drop somebody off, put somebody on that unit, it gets really complicated, but hopefully our transportation numbers will go up, and then we can justify why we need more.
And you're saying about 15 people a day use that transportation?
Yeah.
And how many would you like to get it to?
Huh?
How many would you like to get back to?
I'd like to get back to, like, we had, at one time, we were expecting 28 to 30 people daily. And then we had also all the medical, so probably 10 additional appointments a day, just for medical drop-off.
Are you having the senior Olympics this year? Is that going back on?
So the Senior Olympics group is meeting. They've started meeting, they are working with seniors, to try and get them qualified for Roswell, I believe, is the summer they're going to Roswell. So I know that they're trying to work on, local qualification events. And, but right now they're just trying to find people who are still with us.
And do it?
We have lost over 130
No way.
Oh my gosh. That's awful.
From the COVID?
from COVID and just
Other illnesses?
complicating
Oh, that's sad.
But our numbers have stayed steady.
Yeah.
So we've had people kind of come in, but that's still a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, Mike, the reason why I ask on the Senior Olympics, because going to Roswell, is that in the budget also, you know, because you have to bus them over
We
there?
will not be transporting seniors to us.
You know, they're on their own this year.
They're on their own.
Okay.
I just don't have the capacity to run regular programming with the drivers I have and send the driver off to drive. So for the last couple of years, prior to COVID, they were doing carpooling and just shared expenses. We just don't, you know.
That's sad.
And I do have them working with the city transportation.
Gallup Express.
Gallup Express, because he does have more drivers. So.
He's been very helpful. He's
Yes.
also having issues with getting staff too.
Yeah.
Any other questions for her? I know this is a tough one. You basically, you see the services, she has her numbers, but when the money comes in. Yeah.
I mean, just clarification, so on this first page, I mean, your budget is 241, approximately 241,878, and then 27,000 for senior. Am I looking at this right? That's all, could you,
So our total budget is on page 137 and it's roughly 700,000.
oh, I'm looking at the breakdown, sorry. 137. Oh, yeah, here it is, thank
So
you.
it's the,
Okay.
So and right now she has her operations at almost 700,000, so pretty much break even. And once we know what her actual funding is, then we can come back and do some adjustments. Now, this current year, she received additional funding, so our contribution in was able to be lessened.
Oh,
But, you know, some of the expenditures they have now, I'm hoping are going to start fading away, which is the extra cost to the take and goes and some of the special procedures to try and keep things super sanitary and super clean. But we'll be getting back to some normal interactions because it is more costly the way we're having to operate that facility.
Counselor, correct me if I'm wrong, it's this number that you're looking at, this 27,000, that is under senior citizen.
Right, that's the donation money. We have not allocated that at this time. So that money is really iffy. So we allocated the regular grant money and the city contributions.
So basically, the senior budget is broken down into 3 separate budgets. Congregate
Right.
meals, the home delivered meals,
And
and
the
then
senior.
transportation.
okay.
Three departments under.
So this
one.
27,000 that says senior citizens on page 143 is what?
That's the transportation.
That's
No, that's the money out of the total, that's the total fund for 216. She would have $27,000 unspent if we met this budget exactly as is. That's why if it's a negative number, that's to the
what,
good, but if it's a positive number, that means a use of cash. And that 27 ties
That's
directly into the
super
donations.
helpful.
on
I
the-
kept thinking the negative was in debt.
It's counter to.
Yes, but
Yeah.
it's the positive number and the negative is what the extra money. Okay, that makes so much more sense now. Thank you.
Okay, all right, well, thank you very much, Kim. Good luck with this.
Yeah, thank you. Way to go after that state money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll see her doing a presentation once she gets the final contract, because in the last 2 or 3 years, it's always been after we finalize this. So then we just amend it to fit.
I have a question for you for myself. I'm gonna be starting the neighborhood meetings hopefully in May.
Okay,
Is that okay to use your facility like I used to?
yeah, as long as, well, you don't usually have a lot of,
No,
so social distance.
distancing, the mask,
And
everything
then you have to
Pardon
be
me.
vaccinated.
to enter.
So
Okay, that's
even
good to
your
know.
Community people have to be vaccinated.
Okay.
That's gonna be it. Okay, thank you.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought
That's
about that.
interesting, yeah.
So just programming update, we actually partnered with Presbyterian Hospital out of Albuquerque. They're going to be sending some community workers out who are doing telehealth with clients in Gallup. Apparently they have quite a few consumers out of Gallup that can't travel to Albuquerque for services. So they're gonna use the senior center for telehealth. So they'll bring their consumers in and set up a computer and meet with the doctor in Albuquerque there at the center. They too have been informed that all of their clients have to be vaccinated. Even come in.
Telehealth, well, you're not in person?
Huh?
I thought telehealth was when you're not in person.
It's not in person, yeah. Well, the consumers, because they don't have access to a computer at home, they come into the
Yeah,
center, they use our Wi-Fi services, they have their own equipment, they set it up. They contact the doctor meets with the patient, goes through.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how often will that be?
That's gonna be probably Monday through Thursday,
Okay.
And it's all dependent on our schedule for seniors. So if our seniors are having a special, a senior Olympics meeting, they don't have access to that room. If the room's being used for something else, they work around us. So we're just trying to support. That's the newest program.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's really good. Great.
Oh, and then the other thing is they said if they're not registered, they're gonna refer their consumers to get registered. So we may see them. And hopefully HD can.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim.
All righty, thanks guys.
Thank you for all you did to get through COVID, yeah.
Yeah.
Senior ones.
All right, guys.
Bye, guys.
I'll be releasing that.
I'll be there playing some bingo when it opens.
Now we're going to golf, which is,
8:30.
you want to go ahead and just kind of highlight the budget?
So, a majority of my budget's been kept flat. The only increases would be due to, the, supply chain, fuel, those sorts of costs going up. So that's where a majority of the increase is. Outside of us switching, to the dollar purchase, that increased our lease payments, by a bit. So naturally that went up, so we can take ownership of the equipment at the end of that lease. And then also, the cost associated with, funding the pipe for a year, temporary pipe. And we're hoping, that talks with the poly that, you know, by this December, we can really cut back on the amount of use of that pipe. That could possibly free up, some more money to put back into the general fund. But that's really dependent on, again, supply chain is really affecting everything. Just getting materials located here and purchased quick enough before someone else buys it, sometimes slows the process down. And so that's where a majority of our costs have gone. Also, we have a new cost now with everything that's going in, with Russia. They are a big, exporter of urea, which is used to make 95% of fertilizers, ag, the golf, the horticulture, across the board. And so those are just, you know, costs that will hopefully go down in the future. But a majority of our costs have been affected by. And so you can kind of see that number or reflected in rental of equipment and machinery on it's 47-12. Typically that number is like in the 200,000 range, 250. But now you're seeing it at the 725. That's one for the pipe, but then also the increase in the lease payment. The plan was with that lease payment, why we're paying a little bit more now, is to own it. But once we're done at the end of that, I believe it's 5-year term lease, we're pulling $150,000 out of this budget, putting it back to the general fund. So that's why we've increased that payment a little bit with the savings that come in the end. But outside of that, any other sort of increase you've seen is mainly going to be affected by supply chain issues and that such. If there's any questions, we have about also 14 employees, but we're currently staffed. That's if we were completely staffed. Right now we're about 6, but just like everyone else, we're under 50% staff. And just trying to keep things running and keep things going. So we're stressed in like everyone else, but we're just trying to make ends meet, I guess you could say, just keep things going until things get better. So.
So I have a question on the rent of equipment machinery. So I had a question before you even mentioned that, but so last year's actual was 249,310. So it looks like this was just with the lease of it. And this is this, when you say rent of equipment and machinery, is this renting or leasing of all of the golf carts, or what equipment is this?
That's both. So that's both the golf carts, both the maintenance equipment and the temporary pipeline itself. And that's why that number's increased to the 725 from the 200,000 range.
That includes the lease with, or whatever you call it, contract with Rainbow.
Yes, ma'am.
In the notes, Counselor, it shows that the lease for John Deere is 275,000 and the rain for rent for the affluent line is 450,000 in that proposal.
And so, sorry, maybe I'm not looking at it right, then how, hold on, where am I supposed to go? What, how, so then you said the idea is that we would own this, then we would, after the lease is over, we would own all of these things?
Yeah, so we would own the maintenance equipment. That 275 included both the golf carts and the lease, John Deere lease. And the golf carts, that's something you typically wouldn't want to take ownership of because of the use, the damage, the batteries. One reason we got into these lithium batteries was because of the old 12-volt system. Our water is really hard. Those type of batteries require water maintenance. And so it was really impractical and not cost effective of us to keep using those batteries. And so it came down to gas and lithium. And then that's why we chose the lithium option. We can look at the end of that lease, which comes up in 2025. What's the fair market value for them? What shape are the lithium batteries in? And do some really deep dives into what is the real life expectancy. It's a new technology. We were one of the first courses in the state to use this technology. And so we'll have better answers, hopefully by 2025, to see what we're going to do. Either purchase those carts outright and maybe let's see if we can get another 5 years with no payment, which would then also be an additional, and you'd be looking at taking out that true 275, which is a large savings. And so in the next couple of years, we can start really getting that information for you.
Okay, I mean, but the 725 increase is so much just because of the fact that we've had to fix this temporary pipe. So, but then that's gonna go down if we do, I guess, approve to bond the environmental fund at 5 million, then that's gonna basically go down.
That's 450,000 plus the additional contractor fees and everything. So you're like in the 500,000 range of money of savings, like that we're paying out, that now we're gonna have ownership of this pipe and not just be in this temporary state. Yeah.
I'm not gonna say too much, because we've had talks, me and you have had talks, you know how I feel. I think the golf course is just one of the, I have this love-hate relationship with the golf course, you know, because on a selfish note, for my personal life, you know, so many golfers, my husband's a golfer, but on a community note, I hear so many people saying, what is going on? And I am wondering, you know, maybe it's not in this budget, but it seems like obviously the water is a huge issue. The soil seems to be a huge issue. So, and I know that's probably millions of dollars, but has there been talks about taking out the soil? And because I'm just worried that I know it's not this specifically, but that we bond this $5 million to fix the pipe, which I know needs to be done, but then the soil is so corroded from years and years of the bad water. And so it goes down so deep. And so is that water now going to fix it? Are we going to have a brand new expensive pipe and still have corroded soil because it's been corroded for 10 plus years? And I'm, you know, when I've told you my honest feeling, I know you're trying to fix all this, but it's just so hard. It's like, I feel like we just keep spending money at the golf course and keep not seeing major improvements. And I'm really worried about that. And not just me, but like the community tells me a lot. It is one of the biggest contentions in the community. I'm just being honest. So
Yeah.
I just want to see.
Can you answer
Something.
that
Yeah, so,
question?
like-
I mean, getting the effluent to the golf course has been a huge challenge, particularly in the last 2 years. There's been just issues with the plant, issues with the conveyance system. But
Yeah, I
answer
can
the
definitely.
question about the
And
quality.
and so like, those are the issues that we were aggressively working on. And then within the last 2 years, we've really experienced getting water to us what you can refer to as the transmission, the system, that pipe is really started to fill, and we were hardly getting any water at times, if none at all. And so when you do that in the middle of summer, or you do that sometimes in the spring, you're going to start losing areas of turf that we had established, and we will get back. One of the biggest or one of the most important pieces of equipment that was in this package was a sieve. And we've worked really good with the streets department and this, what I call perky dirt, where they're literally, they have to clean out that wash. We're finding a different use for this soil instead of just letting it sit in a pile. And we have pictures. I can get you the documentation of these areas that we've put this soil in. We've gotten the rocks, the bleaching, the trash, everything out of it, and put it in these areas that are affected by salts, that are high sodiums and other minerals, and we've got good establishment. And so now that was the last piece, was keeping the water coming, flowing, to put everything together to really show how nice the course can be, how good it can be, almost on the level of what you would see at Indian Hills. And I think in the next coming years, you will see that. I mean, it's almost like, it feels like it's a perfect storm. There's lack of seed, there's lack of supply. Everything is getting hard to get right now. And when you have these issues, you're always playing catch up. We will eventually catch up within the next year or two. But the cultural practices are there. We've shown that in photos of the course, what it looked like in 2019, what these areas that were completely white. Now we can speed this process up with the sieve that we have to replace it with the perky dirt to seed, and you can have really nice areas, and that will bring back play. As in 2019, we had doctors coming from Window Rock, groups that had left Gallup that didn't want to stop to play, were returning. We were starting to get what you would call, I guess, the money games, where you get doctors to compete against each other. That play was there, and it showed in the numbers. You can see the elevated rounds, the elevated membership. So the interest is there. We haven't had the ability to do the outreach with the juniors. We only got one season of that because then COVID hit. And so like the last 3 to 4 years have been a lot, if not COVID, if water issues, if not water issues, supply chain issues, like those are all compounding factors. They all affect each other. And I really think in the next year or two, you're going to start seeing, I think, the sentiment change, because a lot of people have seen what the course looks like going through these dry periods. And so we're really going to try to start showing them, hey, we're seeding again now. We finally have seed. We're keeping these areas wet. And we're making, I guess, better use of the resources that we have available.
Yeah, I think on a personal note, I'll get with you separately. I'd love to have Linda's Counselor Garcia, is having, in terms of like a community meeting where maybe you could come and just maybe talk and give, because I'll be honest with you, and we've talked, because I have a golf tournament every year, and I have numerous golfers that won't play in my tournament, won't even golf at the course, and have begged me to take it to grants because of the condition of the course now. It's not a good look for the city. Like, we're losing golfers in our current state, and I know you're working on that, but I hope and pray that it's just like less than 2 years, because I'm like, I don't know what to tell them, I mean, they're going to Flagstaff, they're going to Phoenix, they're driving to Farmington, they're driving to Grants, and they're not staying here. I know golfers that literally moved because they could not golf in this course. I'm just being honest with the community concern. And so that's just, and I know, and so I'm not trying to like make it, I know it's not all your fault, but I just want to like express my concerns for those things, because I think having a golf course is a huge deal for so many. There is a huge need for it. There's so many golfers here, but there's not going to be pretty soon if we don't get the course up to par. So, I want to express my concerns with that, but,
well, I would like to make a comment, because when I first came on council, there was going to be major changes made. And I was one of the naysayers that came to that council meeting, and we allowed public comment. And let me tell you what, I think you were there wanting a golf course. I believe you were there. Economic development was there. There was a slew of people there wanting this golf course, that they had to have it. They wanted us to invest the money, which we did in good faith. We had somebody from New Mexico State working there trying to make it better. And that was done. I turned around because I am not a golfer. But, there was such passion for this golf course. They wanted a golf course in Gallup. And so they changed my perception of the need for a golf course. So I voted yes to go ahead. Where were the naysayers at that meeting? There was one naysayer that I can remember that spoke against it. No, don't invest the money, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, and I have seen the struggles that they have gone through to try to make it work. And I say to the people, we are not responsible for COVID. We are not responsible for the supply chain issues. We are not responsible for the effluent line going down, but the effluent line needs to be done strictly because not just for the golf course, but for other industries to use it. Because the alternative is to use potable water, which we do not have, for parks, for anything, for industry. So I look at it as it's an investment in the future of Gallup to have a good affluent line. Because otherwise you're going to just throw that water into the Perky. And what a waste. That to me does not show that we are trying to reuse water in a good manner. And we would lose federal funding and other funding. So I think we talk about being green and reusing things that we need to reuse. This is the first thing we've got to do for an affluent, like whether or not we have a golf course. But, like I said, I was turned around based on what people came to say to me about the need for this golf course. And we have been investing money, and sometimes it seems like a big hole, but I really want to see us try to make it work. But,
I just beg people, like, just please try to remember what it was really like before we had those water issues. We were doing so good, 150 juniors that summer. And like, I agree with Councilor Polachek, like we will get there. And we have started at the end of this month, our first newsletter, I guess you can call it that, update is going out. And so I'm more than willing to come speak at your community meetings to get people's email address, to get them put in our system. So when those blasts go out, they can kind of see what junior programs we have going on. We have the library coming out in July to do summer reading now. And so like, we're really trying to get back to pre-COVID times. And they can be included in that information. So.
I appreciate it.
Any other questions for Matt? I mean, the water is key. I mean, we all remember what happened last summer. It burned the golf course without having it. And I think we finally have a solution in place. Now there's supply chain issues for seed. You got some, but I think we have to give it a year because you're right. It was really great in 19 and then everything happened. COVID, lack of water. And I think we're on track again, finally.
And I'll just keep beating doors down to see if I can locate if there's any seed that was overlooked. And I'll get with Fran to see what we can do to try to speed stuff up to get something in.
So we're just having lots of issues with even getting the seed for the grass.
Yeah, I mean, the last time I called, it was basically what I would pay $20,000 for right now, because everything has gone to Asia, is now going for $83,000. I found a local vendor that's a little cheaper that did have a supply yesterday afternoon. And so I'll get with Fran and see if there's anything, what we need to do for the next steps for that, and try to start getting stuff in the ground. But we have green seed that I got set aside last fall. That's in the process of going out right now. And then depending on what we can do with the other stuff, we'll hopefully start, getting more and more out over time.
And we're just Matt, we're just zero-scaping, right? I mean, like, are you guys just trying to focus on having the green on the fairways and the greens and that's it?
Yeah, so right now, basically, we're going back to how, when I first got here in 2018, was greens first, fairways, surrounds, tee boxes, anything else is secondary. That's for all of the manpower that we have right now. We're trying to get those areas reestablished, looking nice again. And that's kind of what the plan is going forward until things change and we get caught up with stuff.
Great. Matt, are people golfing now in the condition that it's in? Because it's pretty bad out.
We were having golf. One thing we really focused on was, I wouldn't say necessarily discounting, but trying to get up their memberships during this time, which you can tell our memberships were elevated. We lowered our cost some in the way we approach it, treat it more like a gym membership during this time, finding ways to drive buy one, get one free things, those sorts of promotions. And so we do have golf. I'm not going to act like it was where we were at previously, but there are people golfing. So it has affected those numbers some. But we will get back. We will get back on the right path. We will start moving those directions. We will start breaking, our own records again, like in 2020, when you look at those numbers before we really started taking a hit, you will see we've made more money in that year than any previous year Gallup has made at the golf course. If you look at years comparisons, that we broke the $200,000 mark. I know it might not sound like much, but by year two, that's pretty substantial. I mean, we're able to hopefully get. I wanted to be by 350,000 this year. That was my goal, with no food and beverage. And if we did have food and beverage, now we're talking in the ballpark of somewhere at 500,000. And so we're really lowering and squishing that number of what our actual costs are and how much we're replacing that back to the general fund. That's kind of where we're at now. High schools have golf teams. They're large now. Last year, I told you, it was maybe 10, 12 students. There are 30 students each school. We have Zuni coming now, using the drive range as team to play golf for their team. So by bringing golf back, you can start to see the repercussions in the community that it's having the effect, and that will grow as, of course,
Yeah.
continues to improve.
And I understand, I completely agree with you that golf is very popular with our young in the schools, and I advocate for that, but we do have to have the field in order for them to come and golf. If you build it, they will come,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yes, ma'am.
So I agree that, and I thank you for the effort that you're putting into it, and I know it's the money good. Thank you.
Mhm.
The golf course is closed right now.
Yes.
So when will it be reopened?
So it's opening the 26th. So we basically, a week from today, will be opening. All seed will be in the ground. I'm hoping by your tournament, things will be germinated. People will see. We have every other weekend, we have a tournament starting May 14th, I want to say, or the 7th.
The soccer team on the.
Yeah, so that's our first one, either every weekend or every other weekend up until July, we have a golf tournament. We have the chamber, we're having ceremonial have one this year. We're having Counselor Pianos, doing 2 for the high schools. We're doing soccer clubs. So this is going to really start being used to help fundraise for people in the community. So there is a big impact that we have in that manner. Say.
Any other questions for Matt? We are running a little behind schedule. Did you all want to take a break, get coffee or something, and then we'll come back and do it? Are you ready?
It doesn't matter. I'll just, I can take like 3 seconds to get coffee. 1 minute.
Mayor, 5 minutes?
Thank you, man.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's take a 5-minute break.
Okay.
Thanks, Matt.
Whenever you all are.
Let's drill these two. Let's take out our anxieties on these two.
All right.
Oh, they're easy.
We're on page 35. Facility standards. We do have 9 employees in the facilities department.
Look at your position.
Hi.
First one that got it on the head.
You're the first one to get the correct number of employees you have. in your department. I tried. I know who all the employees are.
He's fully staffed.
It's one of the positions at the bottom.
So just to kind of highlight a few areas in the facilities budget, you will see our original request was for 287,000 within the building maintenance line, 4410. You will see that's due to some of the CIP projects that got put into that line there. That was City Hall replacement, also a citywide HVAC replacement, a bay door replacement program that we're starting and working on, and then taking care of all the library issues. So they've got some stucco issues, some drainage issues. So we're working on putting new downspouts, new area for that water to flow away from the foundation. So hopefully in the next 20 years, we'll have some issues there. We did notice we made a little mistake in fuel purchases originally. So thank you, staff, for allowing us to get some fuel so we can drive around. Take care of our needs there. We appreciate that. The other big thing you'll notice is other contractual services. That is basically all the security services for the city. That's the downtown area, all the way from the train station up to the courthouse, City Hall area, Memorial Theater, Valley Event Center, and the Walk. That's a fairly large number you'll see there. And there was an increase in the rates for the security services due to the increase in the minimum wage. So that did go up there. That has any questions for me?
Just while they're looking, when does the security services contract expire?
Oh, gosh, I want to say this year, right, Fran? This year or next year? I think the last time we did it was just.
So is it good for 3 years? 3 more years. 3 more years. And 4. Okay. Yeah, so, and we're getting a pretty good deal.
Yeah, I've heard about some other contracts. We are definitely doing okay.
Any other questions on?
Where's the security out of?
So it'll be out of the 4540. So if you look at 10.
I mean, sorry, where are they located? Are they from Gallup? Are they from Albuquerque?
Their branch is actually out of Arizona, but they do a big area here in New Mexico, Blackstone Security. They do Utah, Arizona, Colorado, Texas, small area in Texas, like the southwestern part of Texas. But yes, the manager is local, Scott Clark.
Yeah, he fills in when they have
He's a good guy to work with. I have nothing but good things to say.
And how many, I wonder if facilities, you told me this, you said, I think we have 64 buildings or?
I think it's now 66. If I remember correctly, I will have to go back.
wrong
We
direction.
get 2 more.
Yeah.
Last time you said
Yeah, I was
64, we
gonna
got
say.
2 more.
It seems like we keep acquiring.
Well, is that right? What did we acquire lately?
Well, First Financial is one I didn't account for originally that they did put on the books, and another one was the Lexington.
Oh,
Oh,
Lexington,
yes.
okay.
And
Now
we
you're
are
gonna get
trying,
with
we are
Bus
trying
Barn.
to create.
And now the bus farm. So so let's just keep increasing.
And
Just kidding, we get into
there's
the
3
first
buildings
one.
on that, isn't there?
Yes.
We have it.
Okay, so we are working on this disposition of First Financial.
Okay, are we trying to sell or lease any other buildings that we have, or are we just gonna keep getting up, keep adding?
Ideally, that'd be something we'd like to talk about. We're actually gonna put a presentation together to provide to you all so that you can kind of, what we see on a daily basis. Numbers, costs, insurance costs, and present that to you guys, so you guys have kind of idea of what we look at. But that'll be coming here hopefully by the end of this month.
We're also sending Mark and a few others, I think Amanda's going through a building operator course. And so he's looking at how to reduce some of our expenditures.
And we're building a new electric facility. So, Sorry, Mark.
And let's keep making it happen. We'll take care.
And we are doing not him, but we are doing a redevelopment plan for the Alpine property. And so we will, hopefully we'll actually have a plan where we can actually. That'll be coming to you.
All right. Thanks, Mark. Now, vehicle.
What number is that?
This is page 47.
101, 15, 30.
Any comments?
We just, please, yeah, 10.
Did you say your department is 13?
1536.
On the head, yes, ma'am.
You know how many stats? Any other comments, highlights?
Not really, we just tried to keep everything flat, going straight across. After this year, there's a little bit of increases here and there, and that's just mostly due to inflation. Parts are really hard to find, and they're getting more and more expensive. So we're gonna do the best we can with what we have, and hopefully it turns out. Fortunately, with the vehicle replacement fund, we're gonna be getting new vehicles, and that's gonna hopefully cut a lot of costs.
Yeah.
I just have a quick question. When I know under the capital improvement projects was the new vehicles, and or most of them were replacement, but then I think there was 2 dependent on new positions if we approve that.
We have 3 that are contingent on new positions if they're approved. We have the 2 code enforcement officers, which has a previous code enforcement officer. I really do, but that's not my place to say.
Thanks, Amanda. I'll give you like 20 later.
No, I've done that job. It's not easy. And then the line locator for the water.
Okay. And then is the maintenance and insurance, did that increase this budget? I mean, how does that work in terms of, because if we do approve that, then I'm assuming we have to have new insurance and maintenance on those 3 new vehicles. So then where is that?
So the directive that was given to city council, given to us by city council and from Mary Ann years ago is that we're not. So majority of the time, if they're asking for a new vehicle, they have to give us an old vehicle. So the costs are actually a lot better because obviously with newer vehicles, you get better gas mileage. You know, maintenance costs are not repairing things as often, things like that for a newer vehicle.
Insurance
And
does.
then the insurance comes out of the risk management.
Yeah. Okay.
And that goes up a little bit because we have full coverage on it. That 5 years. We drop. Coverage, just maintain liability.
But for the new vehicles, that would be more expensive.
Correct.
Okay.
Good.
But I think it's offset by not having constant repairs.
Okay.
It's not.
And Amanda does an amazing job managing the fleet, because it's not just the vehicles, it's also the equipment. And we rely on her and our budget committee to go over every piece of equipment and decide what really needs to be surplus, gotten rid of, and what needs to be replaced. And what. So it's worked really, really well. And And again, the only new ones are the ones where they request a new position.
What I've done with the replacement fund is like, the way that the vehicles were appraised previously is that the director said, okay, here you need a new vehicle. So what we're doing now is we're looking at the fleet as a whole. And we're getting rid of the oldest vehicles first.
Okay.
So majority of our oldest vehicles are actually going to be in our parks department and recreation. However, they have a lot of part-time and seasonal positions, so those vehicles sit, which is why they have the oldest vehicles. So what we're doing, or what I have planned for the vehicle replacement plan, is to replace the vehicles that are used on a daily basis, example, code enforcement, and to transfer the code enforcement vehicles to the parks department. So we're getting rid of the vehicles that are older than me first, or, you know, that have been around for a long time. And a lot of that not only decreases the cost as far as maintenance, but the newer the vehicle, less emissions as well. And we're also looking at hybrid and electric vehicles and what we can do on that front. So we're getting a plan together for a consumer electric charge point here in the parking lot. We're looking at getting electric vehicle stations and the vehicle swap and within the different departments. The electric department is planning on putting in a charging station when we get their new building, so that the director and the superintendent and positions like that that aren't like in the field really using the bucket trucks and things like that can have all electric vehicles. So we're looking at which positions now we're kind of going through working with the electric department as far as which positions can use electric vehicles and would it be feasible for them.
And would those electric stations be available to the public as well if they had an
That's
electric?
what we're working on now. That's kind of our pilot is gonna be the electric charging stations for vehicles off of Sourcewell contracting, or the charging stations that will be in the parking lot next to.
Wow, that's fascinating. I thought those were really expensive to put those electric charging stations in, but I guess you're getting estimates, so.
It's actually not as bad as we thought.
Wow, that's great.
The nice thing about an electric charging station is we operate the electric utility. The
Right.
revenues come to us.
That's a good point. So maybe a new revenue stream for us, just put electric charging stations all over town and,
So it'd be an expansion on the electric revenue, you bet.
oh, that's cool. I didn't think about that.
It actually affects a lot of the red tape too, that we only our own electric facility as far as the company coming and setting up for us. Makes it a lot easier, so that cost because we don't have to pay as much to do red tape.
There is some state funding too that may be available hopefully shortly for electric charging stations. I believe the state allocated, I can't remember, it's 10 million or 30 million. But so that's something we can take advantage of. They've just been kind of slow getting that out, but hopefully we can use that too. Other questions for Amanda?
Great job.
All right, good job. The budget committee appreciates her and Mark tremendously. All right, so. Thank you. I think the next is library. That's
83.
I 150-55 on page 83.
Hey, Tammy.
Right on, I like it.
Oh, my good job.
Yeah.
Good eyesight.
Page 40 is what I heard.
You have a different.
83, 83 red, right.
It depends. You got it right.
You're correct, but Tasha put together two books into one, so it made it 80.
Okay, so please just go ahead and hit the highlights of your budget.
Well, we don't have a whole lot. It's pretty much flat. The only thing that's really added on there is for the design concept and facilitator for the new library? Other than that, any kind of increase we've been like for fuel or anything that has raised the cost? But other, it's pretty much the same.
That was very short and sweet.
Yeah, any questions? Tammy, how many employees and are you fully staffed?
19, and we are not fully staffed.
How many?
19.
19.
20.
I told you.
You're
You are making side bets on everything. Where
You
is-
forgot yourself, maybe.
Where is
Oh,
your,
this is the museum. Yeah.
this is a real test.
Correct.
I'm like, let's just say 25, we'll just round up.
Yeah, your museum technician is still in as a funded position, even though we're not doing that at the moment.
20.
So 20, right.
And you're not fully staffed?
Is the increase of, where the new library, I know that's in the works, gonna then need to have more employees?
It depends. It depends really. If we go with the previous design where you're having different floors, then yeah, you're gonna have to increase the staffing for each floor, make it a lot more difficult. But on a one level, I think you can probably keep that flat. Although we could use a couple of more positions that we really function at full level at some point in time.
I know I'm looking at this budget, but can you remind me, and I was on the library board, so how embarrassing, but can you tell me what the increase for the library design was? I don't see it on here yet.
40,000, it's in professional services.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
And it was actually in this year's budget, but we haven't been able to move forward on it. So that's why it's being carried over.
Right, so we're rebudgeting it essentially. Normal operating expenditures that don't get taken care of during the year that ends June 30th, we try to get the department to just rebudget it into the new year so that they can proceed and get it done.
Instead of carrying it over?
Yeah, it's really hard to carry items forward, so we try to do it only for like large capital type purchases, like vehicles that obviously are going to come in late, because it's a lot of extra work behind the scenes to make those happen. And so she just rebudgeted this item, make sure she could do it.
So just real quick, maybe Patty as well, professional services listed on line item is 46,000, the library design is 40,000, so is the other 6,000 just for like training or? What is it?
No, we have events and bring people in or anything like that, we have to go outside.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, if you look at the detail.
You have your WAPA
you can
appraisal
kinda
in
see
that as
that.
well.
It's actually detailed. Honorarium fees, all
Oh, I'm
that stuff.
sorry.
Your WPA.
Oh, yeah,
Sorry, I didn't go
You
to
have
the
your
next.
appraisal in there for Fort.
Mhm.
that's true, the appraisal is in there for the WCA pieces.
I really like this very detailed, exacto amount of each line item. That's very,
That's Betty.
I can tell somebody's OCD in this library.
Betty.
I appreciate that, Betty. That's super helpful.
We're turtleneck.
You did, it's pretty.
Yeah, it's very,
Love it.
it's very clear.
We have a couple budgets where there's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh.
I appreciate, I've seen the library do a lot of great work in the community, and I think you guys have really increased your outreach too with the community groups and reading with the schools. And I see it a lot on Facebook, and I know during COVID, you guys have been doing virtual trainings, and so, and kids, reading virtually and all these stuff, and I really appreciate that, so.
They were role models during COVID, no question about that.
Sure. Transition.
All right, well, great job. Any other comments?
You guys have a great night.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're gonna go.
Suzanne, you want to go next?
Suzanne.
What page? We're gonna do page 12, going back. Well,
Well,
IT.
What we would do without these tabs.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Agreement that we have with our GIS. Other than that, we just have Esri on training for
How many on staff?
we have two in right now. One position and we have one.
That include you?
No, that's
It's just GIS.
Oh, this is GIS, not IT.
There's no questions on GIS.
Okay. IT.
And so,
We try to keep it.
Page 8.
Sorry.
18?
Try to keep- Yeah, we're trying to keep our budget as far as we could, but we couldn't ignore some of the issues that we have with cybersecurity and with our security within City Hall. We did include an increase for 4590. That is to include our second year of the Dark Trace cybersecurity platform that we have. What Dark Trace is doing for us is it's monitoring our work goal, and it acts on using artificial intelligence. It acts on a lot of security risks, either blocks them or it notifies us if there's a potential intrusion or security risk. The only other thing that I want to mention is in our 4620 account, our supplies account, that is up a little bit more because we are in our 6th year of our computer replacement. The first year of our plan, we replaced about roughly 76, 79 computers. I didn't get that right, but this year we're going to replace 78 computers, and that includes application security or application software. The only other thing that I want to mention is is we did include an endpoint protection and asset management platform that will give us endpoint protection to any device we have within the city or on the city network. And we'll be able to track all the inventory. I mean, it's everything. So rather than having some rogue devices out there, we'll be able to track everything.
Good.
And the only other thing that I want to mention is we did request training for our network administrator. Obviously, IT changes very rapidly and would like to refresh his network certification.
How many employees do you have in IT?
We have 5 employees, including me right now. We have one vacant position still. That's the
IT director? You're not the IT director? I thought you were. You're going to be the director.
We're funding the position. Got to go through the process, I guess, to make sure that you advertise it.
How long has that been that you've been going through the process?
Well, I mean, part of it too is we like to promote from within.
Right.
And so we're working on making sure that staff is qualified to get those positions. And most of our director positions require a college degree. And Suzanne is very close to obtaining that.
Great.
Because she's excellent.
And I want to keep her.
I'm just gonna say that I think that Suzanne is doing a fantastic job at this point. I even, and I'm gonna say it out again because I was at the New Mexico State Legislature and was very disappointed in their IT staff. We would do Zoom calls and they'd have to drag a giant big screen TV into our committee chamber. You couldn't understand what the people were saying. And then I come to the city and we have drop-down screens. It's very clear. You can understand. And I go to the city of Gallup and see what we're doing now. And you can replicate that at the New Mexico State Capitol. Because in comparison, this little municipality is doing fantastic work, and up here, we got nothing. So I tell Representative Lindstrom, go to Gallup and see what they have. Talk to our IT, because they know what they're doing.
And absolutely concur. And then cybersecurity is such a huge issue. And Suzanne did her homework. She did research. She's finally gotten an artificial intelligence driven dark trace, and it is amazing what it's doing to protect the security of our system. And there have been local governments that have been hacked in our city, and I mean, in our state. So it's both getting us through COVID and then cybersecurity are just huge accomplishments for our city. She does it with a very small staff.
I just have a few questions for Suzanne, also for the, as far as the position, as I understand it, we always advertise positions and it sounds like for a certain amount of time. But with the degree, just in general, is that something that we always require? Because I know like statewide, we're really a lot of places are really basing it more off experience and not always degree, or there's things that say, you know, with the exception that you'll get hired with the fact that we anticipate you graduating in this amount of time or whatever. So is that something we're looking at?
So it kind of depends on the position, you know, exactly what the requirements are, but we do allow what we call substantial equivalency. In other words, we'll allow substitution of experience, a certain number of years of experience for years of education. So we do that in some cases, and we're doing that now. So there are some department directors that don't have a degree, but they have the years of experience that we substitute. We put that in the job description.
Okay. How often do we replace the computers? I know you say we're replacing 78 computers.
We have them on a 5-year plan, so typically a computer only has 3-year warranty. We purchase them 2 years to, you know, for at least 5 years. And we found that it's worked really great now. And like I said, now that we're in our 6th year, we have a lot more computers to replace next year. It'll be
Sorry, just really quick. And then under the account 4590, the other services, that was where you were saying we were having, is that the line item where we have the additional for cybersecurity? Okay. And then we contract out with someone to help with that?
We have a server on site. So server is actually doing most of the work. We have a lot of issues, especially 5 to 7:59 a.m. when we're not here.
Oh, nice.
On the weekends, yeah. So they monitor often.
Well, I appreciate as well, I echo what Councilor Pavlicek said. I mean, I think it's really great to have the good security. And as we already know, I tried to change the password on my iPad because I am pretty tech savvy and I thought I was helping myself, and she texted me and was like, did you just change the password or was that like a hack? I'm like, oh my gosh, it was me. I'm so sorry. So already giving you extra work. So we figured that out. But so yeah, fired, I know. But that was real. I mean, I think it's great because if someone is hacking, you're knowing right away and you're saying, hey, this is the breach and we have to either shut down Wi-Fi, and I think that's a real concern. You know, there's a lot of confidential information with the city that, you know, don't probably want to get out. So I think that's great. Thank you.
Thanks, Suzanne.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Suzanne.
Thanks. And now you can go back to work.
Now I'll just be back here.
Go back to work.
So Jan, next you
All
want
right.
to do RIFs?
The last one is risk management. This is page 325. If you notice in the PowerPoint, risk management is kind of like insurance, at least its budget is.